Welcome to your community. This is your hometown. This is Walton Entertainment. This is where you can hear from the community and those making a difference. We explore topics, local festivals, arts and entertainment, and local news. For this program and much more, visit us online at yourlocalstream.com. That's yourlocalstream.com. 2020 has been a rough year for many of us, and including local business owners. One such business owner you don't think much about. That's the landlord, the property owner. He or she too have seen rough times. One such case involves a local landlord. It's taken 6 months to have the non-paying resident removed from the home.
This is Paul Mullins with Walton Entertainment, and today we want to do a special on landlords and renters. I want to show you what a landlord has just shown me today. A renter has just moved out, and let's go and look inside, okay? First, here's part of the outside going into the back door of this house. Now let's go inside the house and see just how the house was left. Well, as you can see, it was really left very clean. Doesn't look like they've cleaned in here for a few months. The landlord tells me they stole his refrigerator. He did have a refrigerator right there, black refrigerator. Then you see food rotting right here in the sink. Now, one thing that I want to bring out is they did get stimulus packages. Instead of paying the rent, here's the stimulus package. Wow, a big 55-inch TV. A big, what is that one? A 58-inch TV and a, wow, 65-inch TV. Now there's your stimulus money right there, people. All you congressmen looking in, here's your stimulus money. Here's what it goes for. It doesn't go for these deadbeat renters that don't pay anything and leave a place like this. So be careful how you do your stimulus money. It ought to be earmarked for something besides them going out and getting big screen TVs. Can you believe that anybody would leave a place, a very nice house, 3-bedroom house like this? I thought you'd like to see this walk through and just see how people can leave property. And here's the final bedroom right here. And this is the way it was left. And here's a shot of the garage. And this freezer has got rotting food in it. Smells to high heaven. And this is the way the renters, and it looks like they tore up the garage door too. Looks like it's kind of hanging in there. So I thought this would kind of be an education today of what landlords have to put up with renters that won't pay.
Creative artists can offer you a wide range of video production. Call the experts and discuss your project today, whether it's your special event or your company. Creative Artist, 770-267-7368. Creative Artist produces this program you're watching. Call Creative Artist today, 770-267-7368. Creative Artist, they'll put you in the spotlight.
Down here would be good.
Oh, we're not on a Zoom meeting, are we? No, we are live and in person, and that is a great thing. So, yay! So, you guys know that I have a special opening that I like to do. And so, we are going to pretend that our hands are plexiglass. So I want you to respond to, good afternoon, beautiful people. Oh, that was pitiful. It's been March since we've been together, so you've forgotten how to do this. Okay, good afternoon, beautiful people. Much better. for letting us all be able to get here today and social distance. Can you believe there's probably 100 people in here, so let's give them a big round of applause. We're going to ask Tommy Fountain to come up here and lead us in the prayer and the pledge.
Well, thank you for being here. We are honored to host this, and we're just grateful for your presence. If you need restrooms, they're back here in this corner, or there's some over here as well. And so we're just glad that you're here, and you look like you're doing well by social distancing. Let me pray for you. Father, thank you for an opportunity that we have to be together. And I want to pray especially for the Walton Chamber and pray that you'll be with them. Lord, I think about all the government officials who are here. And Lord, during these difficult days and strange days, we pray for them as well. And we want to pray for our cities in Walton County and ask that you be with them. Be with our mayors, and Lord, be with our public safety folks. And just care for them. Thank you again for allowing the Chamber to come back together. And Lord, thank you for this opportunity we have in hosting this. We love you and we thank you. Lord, we pray that you'll bless the food now and strengthen our bodies. We certainly want to be good servant leaders of yours. And so we ask that you bless the food. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. I was told I think we need to stand, if you would, and let's pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May be seated. And before she comes back, let me share this with you. This was the old Bilo, the old Piggly Wiggly. There's a story behind that. When I was 12 years old, living in Columbus, Georgia, I started my first job as a 12-year-old boy in a Piggly Wiggly. My two sons, who are preachers, say, Daddy, you started in a Piggly Wiggly. It looks like you're going to end in a Piggly Wiggly.
Thank you. We also want to thank Hitachi Automotive for sponsoring this luncheon. Thank you so much. We're so glad to have you here in Walton County. Give a round of applause. I would like to introduce our program speakers. It was funny, Terry said, now you go up there and you talk from the tall microphone, and I said, well, those are my height. But she said they were adjustable, and thank the Lord they are. So we want to introduce our state senators. So we have a chair for each one of you guys up here. Bill Kauser, if you could come up here. All right. We also have State Senator Burt Jones, if you could come on up. State Representative Tom Kirby and State Representative Bruce Williamson. We also have our wonderful president of the chamber, Miss Terry Smiley. I really want us to give her a great round of applause because she has done so much during this strange time. Okay. Are these on? Yes. Okay. So we're going to have a little bit different format for y'all this year for our post-legislative lunch, and so we're excited to ask them a few questions today, and then we'll take some from the audience as well. So, as you all know, all of our lives have shifted, right, over the last few months due to COVID, and I know the legislative session looked a little bit different this year as well. So we're going to take it back to March to begin, and what did that look like as state senators and representatives?
Is this on? Everybody can hear me okay? Well, you know, it's amazing how adaptive we are as a people. You know, none of us have heard of COVID-19 back in March, and now we're all, you know, a daily part of our vocabulary. Some of the words I'd be happy if I never hear again, you know, sheltering in place, and all the different nomenclature that we're using. But we very quickly figured out how to make it work. By the time we came back in June, Everybody had to get their temperature taken on the way in the building. We were spaced out. Everybody was required to wear masks. In the house, it was amazing with the 180 members. They were spaced out even up in the gallery and in one room off of their main chamber where you had social distancing. And I know that no legislator contracted COVID-19 while we were back for a 2-week special session. Pretty close proximity. So it shows that we can make it work and we can deal with it. Naturally, it was on our minds big time, trying to deal with the pandemic. And what I thought was really kind of valuable for it is that we knew we had a limited number of days. We could have an outbreak at any time and have to shut it down. So it gave us a laser focus on what was really important to pass. And we focused on bills that did help us respond to this pandemic or prepare us for it going forward. And I felt like it made us more productive. A lot of the clutter was out of the way, and we dealt with very significant issues, naturally the budget and other things that were not really crisis level, but certainly of high importance, and we accomplished a lot in 2 weeks.
Want to add something?
No, I just, number one, I echo everything Bill said, and also Terry, thank you for putting this together, and I appreciate you having us here today, and I appreciate everybody coming in here and willing and ready to listen to us. I will echo also what the preacher said. I don't think I've ever seen a Piggly Wiggly that looks so good, because I grew up working in a Piggly Wiggly over in Jackson, Georgia. But yeah, it was a very unique and very different. The session was for a lot of different reasons, and COVID obviously was a big part of it. But as the Senator Calvin said, we worked through it and were able to pass a budget, and luckily did not have to cut the budget and furlough employees of the state, particularly different state agencies, as much as we thought. As far as we thought we were going to be looking at a 20% cut, ended up being a 10% cut without any loss of jobs or furloughs and things of that nature to teachers and other agencies. So I think that was a big plus that came out of the session. And it's always good to work with these gentlemen here on stage. They represent your county well and your chamber well as well. So.
Tom or Bruce, y'all want to add anything?
No, I think the two things, it was probably the most difficult session with everything going on in the break, but the laser focus, like the Senator said when we came back, allowed us to get things done, so.
Very good. Bruce, anything? No? Okay. Okay, so can y'all give us an update on any of the highlights from the governor's latest guidelines for business? I know as far as the chamber goes, we've been watching gatherings of 50 or more, obviously, which is why we needed to move our lunch here so that we could social distance. So anything in the latest order that changed for business guidelines?
So, all of us know that we've got a data-driven, conservative Republican governor, Brian Kemp. Agree or disagree with some of the decisions he's made. I have every confidence he's trying to do what's best for the citizens of Georgia. When I say data-driven, every day they're looking at the COVID infection rates, the hospital capacities. And if you'll recall, back when this whole thing hit, it wasn't about, we weren't talking so much at that point. Everybody knew the vaccine was certainly months and months, if not years away. Everybody knew that there was no, basically at that time, no proven therapy that would get you well. So it was all about hospital capacities. When we talk about flattening the curve, it was to do one major thing, is to protect hospitals like Walton, Piedmont. We got our CEO, Larry Everett here today. And that proved successful. We were able to flatten the curve by doing certain smart things, giving time for the the president's initiatives to work, getting these incubators built by Ford and General Motors and these major manufacturers, allowing our supply chains to get things, bringing in personal protection equipment from all over the world. Now we're exporting a lot of that, ramped it up. We went on a war footing against this, and I think the best example is the way we rolled into World War II. Within 3 years, we were building thousands of airplanes and tanks, and we've been just a series of months into this, and we responded with that same American can-do spirit. Everybody did pull together on that. So, getting back to the governor and his initiatives, I think that he's not mandated a mask ordinance, but he has asked everybody to wear masks in public where it's appropriate. He's got a program called the Georgia Safety Promise. I know that the Walton County Chamber of Commerce is committed to the promise. My business has, and it's pretty simple. It's just 4 things. It's promote social distancing, wear your face coverings where it's needed, where social distancing is not possible, commit to clean the surfaces in your places of work, and wash your hands and wash and sanitize every time that it's appropriate. So that's common sense. Some people don't think it's far enough. They want you to be wearing a mask all the time. We know that life's not without risk, and what we risk in this whole pandemic is shutting down jobs and businesses and families, ability to produce and get educated and everything else. So I applaud the governor for the way he's approached this. But I would urge all the business owners here, and all of us are business employed in various local businesses. If you can't make the decision yourself, I would implore your managers to consider committing to the Georgia Safety Promise. You can find it on just Google it, Georgia Safety Promise, or Terry can get you the information with the Walton County Chamber of Commerce. So that's just a quick overview.
Anybody else have anything about that?
I think the one thing that doesn't get mentioned enough is Dr. Toomey. If you look at what the governor's done, most of it's come from advice from Dr. Toomey. After finding out her background and what she did in Alaska in the wilderness and what she's done on the African continent and dealing with zoonotic diseases and transmission and nouvelle diseases, her resume is probably as strong as anybody in the country and probably even better than Fauci. And she understands how to deal with this stuff, and she's the one that giving him a lot of good advice, and I think he's listening to her, and that's why a lot of things have worked well in Georgia, and it's a lot should be given to her, the credit to her, and pay attention to what she's saying.
Anything else? Okay, so I think we'll let Bert start with the next question. College football, are we going to play?
Is this my decision? I think, the recent developments this week, it's been a moving target. I talked to, for those in the room who don't know, I played at the University of Georgia. Kirby Smart and I were two teammates. He was a couple years older than me, but at any rate, so I always usually get the job questions, but that's all right. Sometimes I think that's all I know, unless I stay in politics too long. So just a month ago, I was talking to Coach Smart, and I asked that same question. I said, what's going to happen this season? And he said, well, I think we're going to play an SEC schedule, but I have no idea about if fans are going to be there or not. And this was before any talk was going on about a conference schedule or whatever. And I think we're at that posture still. I'm hoping that the SEC will want to start the season and go forward with the season. I think that's the attitude of most of the athletic directors and presidents in the SEC, and as well as the Big 12 and ACC. And it's kind of funny if you look at those conferences, they cover the entire country, and you see the first ones to make the move to shut everything down or not play football were the Californias, the Oregons, the Washingtons, and of the world, and then the Big Ten, obviously, with some of those Midwestern schools. So I think the attitude and the posture, and to be honest with you, those young men are probably in the safe of it, and even in other athletes at these big universities like the University of Georgia or like the University of Alabama and Florida and all these other schools that have a abundance of resources. They are in the safest possible environment that they could probably be in right now, and I can assure you, I know the head trainers at the University of Georgia, Ron Corson, he's top notch in his arena, and he's not going to put any of his student athletes in any kind of harm's way. So I think we will play the season. I think it will be I think not only the state needs it, I think the country needs it, because we've been deprived of basically any kind of entertainment. It's from concerts to athletic events and all that kind of stuff for the last several months, and a lot of those types of events that have been put on hold, like college football. That's where a lot of people, in the South, people develop their whole falls, around college football, and so I think it'd be good for the SEC to move forward with that, and I hope they do, and I think they will. So,
anybody else want to add to that?
People always ask me, because I live in Athens, like I would know the secret answer there, but it is a moving target, and I think we've intentionally delayed the beginning in the SEC to see how things work when kids get back on campus. Are we going to see another surge or wave that's going to get everybody sick and then make it, obviously you shouldn't get a stadium with another 10 or 20 or 30,000 fans during a game day, but we'll learn here in the next few weeks how that's going to work out. I know it's going to be different than we had in the past, and they've already said at the University of Georgia they're not going to be allowing tailgating. Well, heck, that's half the fun. My wife, Amy, will go to the tailgate. Half the time she goes home and I go in the game, to meet her afterwards. That's the social aspect, so that's going to be curtailed. It will definitely not be a full stadium. It will be some percentage of fans, probably no more than 25% of the fans, but hey, I'm at the point right now, give me anything. Just let me have it on TV and I'll be happy, because you realize how much a part of our culture that is and how much you love it. And I think the SEC and ACC, these southern schools, if they can play, they're going to play. They asked the Georgia athletes, did any of them want to opt out? They could take a year off, not play, and they would still honor their scholarship. 100% of them said, we want to play football. Let us play. And it's a student sport. They ought to be allowed to play, and I hope it happens. I'm an optimist. I think it might.
I just want to put a PS on what Bert said about the safest environment for these young athletes. The statistics are, get back to the data, nationally, over 80%, right at 80% of all COVID-related deaths are 65 and over. When you look at the graph, it's virtually nil up to about age 30. So they are the most least at risk in a contained environment like they are. They're not only the individuals protected, but their family members, everyone else are not going to be exposed to the virus. So I think it's important we keep in perspective that of the over 150,000 Americans that have died, the vast majority of them, like I say, over 80% of them, 65 and older, and a huge percentage of them had comorbid conditions that led to their deaths. So I think it's important to put it in perspective. And not that we still have to take the virus seriously. Don't want to minimize that.
Just a little bit lighter note on football. It didn't go past my attention that Georgia had Mississippi State and Arkansas, where my alma mater had Alabama and Ole Miss. Really? Did that seem fair?
They're used to losing in Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're going to move to the next question. With major disruptors like COVID-19, do you think it's best for the state to impose emergency mandated measures or let those be done at the local level?
Say it one more time. Just because I didn't hear the whole statement.
With major disruptors like COVID-19, do you think it is best for the state to impose emergency mandated measures or let those be done at the local level?
Well, no, I think our governor is taking the right approach, and in fact, I've been really proud of him leading the way when trying to open the state back up. I was out in the hallway, and we were talking about how the whole Northeast is basically still shut down. Businesses, schools, everything, and I think that is, at some point in time, you have got to realize. In fact, I was coming over here, I was talking to, sometimes it's good to talk to somebody like a good old dairy farmer from Putnam County, because they can give you some good homegrown knowledge that really makes a lot of sense when you really think about it. And his statement to me was, he said, I figured this out where there's 3 categories of this virus. Either you got it, or you've had it, or you're probably going to get it at some point in time. And even though it's a virus that is very contagious, it is a flu strain, and we've had the flu going on in this country for years and years and years, and we have lost, unfortunately with any virus, you've lost lives with it. But I think a lot of the experts say as the herd immunity, as more people are exposed to it, then the better people have a chance of fending it off with their own immune system. You don't ever like to put a mandate of any kind on your citizens, in my opinion. But like I said, that's just my opinion. So I know there's plenty of other people that probably have different views of it.
Very good.
Let's talk about Walton County and about how, as far as the locals work together. Chairman Little organized started off twice a week, didn't it, Chairman Little? It was a Zoom call or something similar to Zoom with that exact same technology. But we have 7 cities in Walton County. 2 of them are very small. But the 5 major cities, every single week, Mayor Howard, Ray Martinez from Loganville, Jimmy Guthrie from Good Hope, David Keener from Social Circle, and Mark Moore from the new mayor, Walnut Grove, were on this call, and they invited me as a state rep to be on. And it was amazing how they worked together to make sure the citizens were safe and not have. Remember, before the governor came out with executive order saying the state rules are the local rules can be no more restrictive than the state rules, or frankly less restrictive. They were working together to keep continuity to protect all the citizens of Walton County. It's one more example of great leadership at the local level in our county. And I just want to make sure that you guys, Chairman Little and all the mayors of the county, get accolades for the way you've worked together through the early days of this pandemic.
I would just add something to this whole conversation. Is most conservatives and Republicans sort of bristle or push back at government rules, regulations, mandates, telling you what you have to do, what you can and what you can't. And what we forget in this whole deal is nobody is making a business open. The government can't compel you to open. If you think it's unsafe, stay closed. If you as a parent of school children don't think it's safe for them to go to school, keep them home. Almost every system has a remote learning possibility now. My wife, Amy, is the biggest germaphobe that ever lived. I promise you, there's not a live germ in my house. It's been sprayed down. I come in, wash your hands, She won't go to the daggone grocery store. The Instacart delivers her groceries. I'm like, hey, you want me to get anything on the way home? I'm fine. I got my little mask in my glove compartment. I'll wear it. She has a 90-year-old mother. I call her Ms. A, and we're like, Ms. A, you aren't leaving the house. We'll bring you anything you need. If you're in that vulnerable population, stay home, be safe. If you got a life you want to live and you're willing to take a risk, as Senator Jones is saying, that basically in life there are risks. We catch a cold or the flu every single winter if you take it chance, you might. You know, if you're not comfortable, then you can stay home and we'll make arrangements. I think it's getting blown a little bit out of proportion whether or not the government ought to be mandating these things. Governor Kemp's doing the right thing. He's going around saying, people, let me tell you, those 4 things that Representative Williamson just went over. Wear your mask. It's recommended. It will keep you much safer and protect other people if you do it. But if you're not comfortable going out, then don't. You know, if you're a business and you want to have a sign that says, don't come in here without a mask on, then do that or shut down. I think we're kind of getting too into the mandate deal instead of letting people use their own common sense and have the freedom to decide.
Great. I have a few more questions, but I'm going to ask one more, and then we're going to open it up to the audience. So, during the legislative session, give us a highlight of something that you were personally involved with passing.
I'll say this real quick, and thanks to some leadership in the Senate, we were successful. I know Senator Council worked on it, Senator John Kennedy carried it. It wasn't exactly the way that I wanted it to protect businesses, but we have COVID relief legislation protecting businesses in Georgia from lawsuits. When's the sunset on that bill?
I believe it ends next June 31st.
Right. Well, but it was very important we do that to protect businesses, and I've got to applaud specifically Senator Couser, Senator John F. Kennedy of the state Senate for their leadership in that effort.
By far, the most difficult situation I had to deal with since I've been down here was appropriations. As Vice Chairman of the Human Resources Subcommittee, we deal with the part of the budget that deals with DFACs, veterans, adults with developmental disabilities, all the special needs population in the state of Georgia. We had a tragedy in our whole process, losing the chairman of the Senate side of the appropriations, the great Jack Hill, and Senator Tillery had to take over. But when we came back to finish the big budget, as we call it, and they were talking about the cuts, this is a committee that we understand fully. Every dime we move affects somebody's daily life. And on good years, I remember a few years ago, we had about $700,000 extra dollars we could spend. And that was a horrible meeting because we had about 4.5 million people in dollars worth of ask for additional programs that were all good. And we can't spend it. And going back in there and knowing we had to reduce funding, it was very appreciative that a lot of the other subcommittees found extra money or places they could cut that reduced the amount of reductions we had to do. But you think of so many people have things coming into their home, people coming to their home to help them, just everything goes on in our special needs community across the state. It is a committee that challenges you every year, but that by far was the hardest meetings that I've ever had to sit through. You know, after a couple hours of those meetings, you kind of decompress for a while. And they might want to alleviate or add to it, but the loss of Senator Hill was big, and Senator Tiller did an outstanding job in our budget committees on helping put all that together.
You know, there's a lot of things you get to work on down at the legislative process, and some things you are passionate about before you go into session. Some things you develop a passion as you learn more about the subject matter. And that was the case this past year. I chair the Insurance and Labor Committee, and I got to, I don't know if we have any small retail pharmacists in here in the room today, but one of the bills that we worked on that pertained to both the healthcare and the pharmaceutical sector of our population was for, you know, obviously pharmaceuticals have gotten very big and very big lobbying powers, and also your retail chain pharmacists have almost pushed your small town pharmacists out of business completely. And there was a bill that came forward that I got to work on that was trying to make that process more transparent and give some small retail pharmacists an opportunity to survive, really, because what has happened through the years is the larger retail operators have not only gone into the healthcare industry, where a lot of them have purchased healthcare insurance companies, or vice versa, and as well as the pharmaceutical companies have kind of interwoven themselves into the healthcare and insurance process, which makes it very difficult and a very unlevel playing field for your small town retailers are concerned. And everybody in here who grew up in a small community knows how valuable having that hometown retailer there, local pharmacist that you know, you grew up with and you trust, there to lean on to when you're in the most need. And we were able to pass a piece of legislation that dealt with what they call the PPMs. The PBMs. And it basically it's supposed to be a third-party negotiator on behalf of the pharmacies with the insurance companies and the healthcare providers. But what has ended up happening because of the larger corporations who are getting in all three sectors right there, it's made it really tough on the smaller guy to be able to survive, really, because there's been so many go out of business through the years. So the bill we passed this year was to basically shine a light of transparency on that third-party group, and also eliminate some of the what they call clawbacks, which would be the best example I can give to the people in the audience here would be if you were in a car accident and the insurance company said, I'm going to pay you $3,000 for your damage to your vehicle, and at the end of the year they say, you know what, we paid you too much for that, so we're going to take $2,000 of that back. But that's what small town pharmacists have been dealing with when it comes to the PBM and pharmaceutical companies. They provide a service, they are compensated for that service, and then at the end of the year, they could be told that, well, wait a minute, we gave you too much money, and when they audit your books, because that's not what we pay for this, and they pull it back. And as you can imagine, I've talked to some a small pharmacist in Monticello, Georgia. He was telling me about. He goes, last 2 years I've taken a $200,000 hit at the end of the year because they paid me for services, and then decided that wasn't the norm to do that, so they draw back. So it was a complicated issue. It was a very interesting model, a business model to engage in and learn more about. But at the end of the day, I know all of our pharmacists across the state were very appreciative of the effort that we all voted on here, and the effort that was put in trying to not only help with the consumer as far as the cost of what your meds and drugs may cost, but it also helped small 50 below businesses stay in business. And so that was something I thought, it didn't get a lot of pub, but it was very impactful and meaningful, particularly to small communities.
It's interesting all the different subject matters we're talking about and the detail that you get into in the legislature, but you end up sort of engaging on certain issues that come through committees that you're on, that you get into the real fine print. Two of them that I spent a good bit of effort on that sort of evolved during this extended session was, one was nursing care, nursing home, personal care home regulations. And when we left, took a break March 16th, I think it was, and then came back June the 9th to finish up, there was a bill that had passed the House that was putting additional regulations on nursing homes to protect their residents from abuse, etc. During those 2 months suddenly became really important when all these people were dying in nursing homes. And so we took a good look at that and passed a significant bill that not only reduced the ratios of patients to staff so that you had adequate staffing, but also required specific training of your staff, licensing of administrators. But then we added things to make sure these homes, and that could be a nursing home or personal care or memory care home, all had adequate PPE on hand at all times. Because this isn't going to be the last pandemic that we deal with. There'll be another one that comes down the road, and we should have learned from this one to be better. But It requires a periodic disinfecting of the homes, transparency advising the next of kin of members when there is an outbreak in one of these homes, because a lot of people complain they couldn't go see their parents. They weren't let in. They didn't know what was happening when there were outbreaks going on. So we put some transparency things there and required them to have a plan for those outbreaks. So that became really more relevant than we thought when we were back in session during the winter. Another one dealt with broadband expansion. We did some things to reduce some barriers for people to be able to get high-speed internet connections in non-metro areas of the state. And that's something we've been pushing on, working on for the last several years. Well, all of a sudden, when we shut down our society, education was online, healthcare was online, you couldn't go to the doctor, certainly commerce, business, and we just look at how some of the high-tech stocks that provide those services became important. It really brought it to our attention that we better get it on in this area, because that is the future, and it's just a lifeline for medicine, commerce, education, et cetera. And so those are some of the areas that I spend a lot of time on.
Anything else? Any questions from y'all? Yes, Kim.
Mr. Jones was mentioning sometimes going back and talking to these small town farmers. I actually have a friend, he has a farm in a county very close here to here. And he was telling me that they've had a little under 300 COVID cases since the beginning, which is a whole lot. I think it's a smaller county, I don't know what their population is, but it's more rural. But he also said they've had 0 deaths. And he attributes that to, there's a small town doctor there that has been prescribing a treatment, because I know you said at the beginning there was no treatment, and I know they were heavily relying on the ventilators, which we now know is not a treatment. But anyway, he said this doctor has been prescribing this even in the nursing home cases, and they've had 0 deaths. But the thing that struck me is very odd. He didn't want to tell me this doctor's name because he said this doctor doesn't want to get in trouble. And he doesn't, I think too, he has access to certain medications that some other doctors may not have access to. And I wonder if he doesn't want to lose his access to this medication. Because I know in some areas people don't have access to treatment at all, but some people do have access to treatment. And I've also seen some governors, I don't know if Memphis is among these governors, but I know in some other states, governors have made certain medications difficult or impossible for doctors to get or for pharmacists to dispense. And pharmacists even have the ability to question a prescription now and not be able to dispense the medication. So so my question is, where is Georgia in that? Has Governor Kemp ordered that certain medications are not to be available to doctors to use, and these doctors have the freedom to prescribe medicines they feel like will help?
You know, not to my knowledge that y'all step in if you think I'm wrong on this. I don't know of any medications that are approved by the FDA that are being restricted, you know, at the state level, particularly not here in Georgia. I do know that we had Senator Cowles and I had the pleasure of serving with actually I think 3 physicians there in our chamber, and you know, when you talk to them about potential drugs or vaccines or whatever are available to treat the COVID. You know, they give you, a list, and then I think, 4 or 5 different type of meds that they have mentioned, and each one of them also basically say, but it all kinds of depends. It all depends on the individual themselves whether you can prescribe that or not. You know, you talk about if someone has the virus and they don't have really terrible symptoms, they don't have the aching body, they don't have the bad headaches and all that, and the temperature that some people have when they get it, they have to know about what are their underlying conditions. You know, I know the drug that gets a lot of play is the hydrochloroquine, I think, and you know, you talk to different medical doctors in the community, and you know, some are living. I know a doc down in Forsyth, and he's prescribing it and having great success with it. A doctor that we actually served in the Senate with didn't have the same ringing endorsement of the product. So you know, when you see the cases that we're seeing, the disease does not have it seems to be different effects. It affects everyone differently. Some, you know, you can have a perfectly healthy 20-year-old walking around and not even know they have it. They have no symptoms or whatever, but if they get tested, they've got it. And then you have a 75-year-old that might have, you know, has to take blood thinners and has mild symptoms, but he or she will have to watch what kind of steroids they can be prescribed, you know. So there's just it's just all over the board about how people are affected, what medications work, what medications do not work, and then, but the one thing that is constant with all of them is if you get it, if you have it, it goes back to, it's also basic, you know, this goes back to all the basics we grew up with. You know, they want you to get a lot of rest, they want you taking a lot of fluids, they want you to, you know, take a lot of vitamin C and zinc and things of that nature to try to help your body's immune system fight it off. So, and you know, I know everybody wants a vaccine, and I think there will be one coming in the coming months here. But you know, when a vaccine hits the market, it's still not going to prevent people from contracting the virus itself. And you know, they're doing, people who actually have the antibodies right now, they could donate blood potentially, they could use their plasma, and there's been a lot of proven success with that. That's almost like a vaccine in and of itself. You know, there's not enough out there to produce in mass quantities right now. But so it is all over the board. Speaking of the small town doctor, I don't know. I can't help you on that one. You know, if you don't know the name and what they're prescribing, you know, it's one of those things. I guess, you know, just I hope everybody's being safe, and I hope if it's helping people, I hope it helps them.
Let me jump in there real quick. First of all, I just want to clarify that the best of my knowledge, and there's no medical professional up here, this is a brand new situation, and nobody had developed a protocol. But on the therapy part of it, and specifically the vaccine part of it, Takeda Pharmaceuticals formerly started off at Baxter down in Social Circle, the $1.5 billion biopharma plant. Now it's owned by the Takeda Pharmaceuticals out of Tokyo. They have been on the forefront of developing a therapy to treat COVID-19 victims. There's a partnership with a Swiss biopharma firm, it's my understanding, Shane Short could correct me if I'm wrong, that they're going to human trials almost immediately with this plasma therapy. It will be the only manufacturing plant in North America developing this therapy, and it's in Social Circle, Georgia, in our 4-county park, Stanley Springs. This morning, Shane Short, who's here today, is Executive Director of the Walton County Development Authority. I received an email from him saying that Takeda has just announced that they're not only developing this therapy, they're on the forefront of developing a vaccine that's already going to human trials. Is that, correct me if I'm wrong, Shane? So now, will that manufacturing facility, will the Social Circle facility be manufacturing the vaccine as well?
We don't know that yet, but from what I understand from the folks at the Social Circle facility, it's a good possibility.
That's exciting news, and it's happening right here in Walton County.
I'm going to ask Bruce Williamson to give y'all a quick Update, he has agreed to chair the Chamber's capital campaign, and so we're about to let you all know a little bit about that.
Thank you, Terry. It's been my honor. The board of directors of the Georgia Chamber of Commerce and the Walton County Chamber of Commerce asked me to help head up a capital campaign, and I'm honored to be asked. And let me tell you a quick background why I feel passionate about this. For over 70 years, the Walton County Chamber of Commerce has been the heartbeat of facilitating business in Walton County. You see by evidence of this room today, over 100 people, socially distanced, felt passionate enough about supporting this Chamber of Commerce that you left your jobs, came out here and had a boxed lunch to hear some boring legislators. But so we're through a series of events. There's been a great partnership between Walton County Chamber of Commerce and the Walton County Development Authority, facilitated by the Walton County Board of Commissioners and leadership of Chairman Kevin Little. Where they're housed now, the building at the back of the courthouse is on its last legs. There's a failure in the plumbing system that frankly will cost more money to rehab that building than it's worth, it's my understanding, to the taxpayers of Walton County to do anything with it. That's forcing the Development Authority out on its own. Don't want to pre-announce any plans, but the Development Authority is going to have to head one way. The Walton County Chamber of Commerce has got to find a new facility. The Walton County Foundation is going to be a major partner in this effort. And we're going to be asking for all the businesses in Walton County and anybody transacting business in Walton County that happens to be a member to step up and help us in this capital campaign. Right now, the tentative target's $480,000, which is nothing when you look at the enormous benefit that the Chamber's been over the decades and what it can be to help businesses and bless families in the years to come, the decades to come. So with that being said, I'd like the honor of presenting the first check to the campaign. I can dig it out, and I think my fellow senators are going to do a little bit as well. All right. Well, once again,
Bill wanted to be first.
Senator Gallison's being.
Say that I appreciate you having putting forth that effort, and I just want to tell you that Bruce called me yesterday and he asked me, he said, you think you'd be willing to contribute to this cause? And he told me about it. I was like, oh yeah, sure. He said, good, because I've already told him you were going to do it. I said, well, it wouldn't feel the same if you didn't take a little money from me every time I come see you.
Thank y'all so much. I appreciate that. And thank you, Bruce. So thank you to...
Hold on, Terry. I'm in the 21st century. My wife and I, we have no checks, so we're doing ours online. There's an online thing for everybody. Make it easy for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank y'all very much. So as you leave today, our ambassadors will be giving you a capital campaign brochure so that you can take it back to your business and look over it. So if the ambassadors do want to go ahead and go out at this time, and y'all can be prepared to get those out. Again, thank you to all of you for being here today, and thank you for your support of the capital campaign. Thank you to Hitachi for sponsoring today. Thank you to 1025 Church for letting us be here. As you leave, please get your trash. Do y'all want me to excuse y'all in sections, or can y'all try to social distance as you leave? Y'all will be okay? Okay. So please get your trash. Thank y'all.
We're right in the middle of summer, And that means it's time to get those portraits done. Summer portraits are so wonderful for families and for individuals. Whether it just be you or your family, it's time to book that summer photo session. Let me turn your summer moments into portrait art. Contact me today at 770-656-5794 or check me out on the web at darylproductions.com.
Groovin' on the Green. This is one of Loganville's premier events. Music, fun, food, and just a great time to hang with friends. The concerts are held on the third Friday of each month, April through September. While the acts may change from year to year, the continued growth of the Groovin' on the Green concert series hits right at the heart of why the Town Green was built, to bring the community together.
For more info on the Grooving on the Green concert series, visit LoganvilleEvents.com.
As people, we're just curious about how things work. We want to get closer and more involved to see the inner workings. Welcome to A Look Inside. Join us as we take a closer look at people, places, and things, and what makes them work.
Terrapin Beer Company is a hidden jewel north of Athens at 265 Newton Bridge Road. We've been in this building since about 2007. This is where all Terrapin beer is actually produced now. And it's a fantastic place to hang out with your friends. We have live music Wednesday through Saturday. Doors open at 5:30. And it's just a great place to hang out. Lots of great beer on tap too.
And this Hopzilla is not something you want to drink and get on a go-kart.
Well,
it
depends.
seems kind of strong.
All right, so Hopzillas are one of our monster beers. This is we do about 3 to 4 of those a year, and it's where we actually experiment with a stronger beer style. Hopzilla is a double IPA. It's one of my favorites. I'm an IPA girl, and it's pretty strong. It's about 10.
It's good flavor. It's got a lot of flavor to it.
Yes.
If you like something that's a little less zingy, what would you go for?
All right, for a milder beer, I would recommend either Golden Ale or Rye Pale Ale. Rye Pale Ale is actually what got Terrapin started in 2002. We premiered it at the Classic City Beer Festival, which is held right here in Athens, of 2002. Then 6 months later, we took Rye Pale Ale to the Great American Beer Festival, which is held annually in Denver, Colorado. There it won gold medal for American Pale Ale. Best Pale Ale in the country in 2002.
So, the turtle. Why the turtle?
Good question. Spike, who's our head brewer here at Terrapin, he is a big deadhead. Since we are all about music, Athens has a wonderful music culture here as well. We decided to name Terrapin after Terrapin Station, the Grateful Dead album. And so that's kind of, we also found their album artist, Richard Biffle. We met him at Bonnaroo a couple of years ago. And he also does our illustrations of our turtles, and that you can see on our t-shirts, our packaging in stores as well.
And you have bands out here. I mean, you come out here, you come in, you can take the tour, you get a glass, you get some tickets, you get to test out all the beer here.
Yes.
And then you can go and see Kate here and go through and take the tour.
Yep.
So tell the folks the website and where you can find it here in Athens.
Okay. You can find more information about Terrapin Beer Company at terrapinbeer.com. And we're open to the public 5:30 through 7:30, Wednesday through Saturday. So make sure you come and see us.
I'm here just celebrating the history of beer, which is in order to save people's lives. Beer was invented in order to be a sanitary enough drink so that people didn't die of different waterborne diseases. And you know, if that's going to save someone's life, I'll drink a beer.